All right, so now the last little bit of painting that we want to do is not really painting, but we want to actually find images online and modify them to work inside of our textures. This is something that is used a lot in the industry, especially if you're going for something that is supposed to be a lot more realistic. Let's say if you want to go into a military simulation or even like a military shooter like Call of Duty, a lot of that is photographs that they would take of places and of guns and of other materials, and you as a texture artist have to take those images and adjust them to turn them into a texture. So a couple ways that we can actually get good images is one, obviously, Google Images. So one of the things that I did is, if we look right here, I already have a Lego logo, and then also I have a sticker that I can put on my guy's chest. So like this little starburst sticker. Right, we can definitely get those very, very easily by going right here to Google Images, and we can just type in here exactly what we want, which is Lego logo, and sometimes it does help to actually have PNG. So right here, this is actually the one that I grabbed, and we just kind of go to there and right click, and sometimes we can kind of save straight from that image. Sometimes we have to go to that website. That's good for what we need right there. Sometimes we may need more realistic images and textures to use, and that is why we would use a website like textures.com, which is awesome for getting more high-res textures. As you can see, it's kind of broken down into animals, bricks, buildings, concrete, all with very, very high-res images that we can download. Now, keep in mind, you will have to create an account with this place, but once you do, they will actually give you free credits every week that you can use to pretty much buy high-res textures right here. So as you can see right here, free, 1 credit to download. As long as you have like a free account, you can just kind of download that, and you have a 512 by 512 like very seamless concrete texture that you can modify. So this is a great website to kind of have as a bookmark for you to get into portfolio, and when you need textures, definitely this is a great place to go get them. With that said, we're going to go back here and actually start adjusting these to what we need them to be. So first we have the Lego logo, which if you haven't ever noticed, and I actually have my Lego man in front of me, there's actually the Lego logo at the very top of the Lego's man's head. So if we actually look down in this little like peg, the Lego logo actually goes right there. So we need to modify this to where it actually can fit there and still blend in seamlessly. So one of the things that I'm going to do is we're going to go right here, and we have what looks like a little magic wand. And what that allows us to do is very quickly select one color and make a quick selection of it. So if I grab this right here and just click the black, it should grab everything that black touches, but stop the second that it actually runs into the white part right there. And what I want to do is delete it, because I don't want that big black splotch, because it's just going to look like a big square there. I want it to blend into the 50% gray that's already there. But with that said, this is a little bit too harsh as well too, and too high contrast. So remember, how I said that you do not want pure white and pure black because it just kind of overexerts the effect. What we want to do is just kind of bring down the contrast the same way that we did with noise. So if we go to adjust, brightness, contrast, and we just need to make sure that we hit Command D or Control D to deselect, and that way we get just this right here. And now we can go back, brightness, contrast, and use legacy, and just kind of really bring down this contrast. All right, that's looking pretty good. So we're going to hit OK. And now I'm going to hit Control A to select everything. Again, that's going to be Command A. Control C or Command C to copy. And then we're going to go over to our Lego man, and we're going to hit Control V as in Victor or Command V, and we're just going to drop in this logo. Now that we did that, it is way too big and it needs to fit right there on that little part of the tip. So I'm going to go right here and hit Command T or Control T as in Tommy, And this will allow me to start scaling this down. So we're going to scale that down. Bring it over here. I'm going to hold down Alt or Option if you're on Mac to scale in or zoom in. And then we're still going to bring this down. Now it's starting to get a little pixelated, which really that just comes down to the fact that we only have a 2048 by 2048, and well, you can only make a pixel so big. And then we're going to hit enter. But we're running into one last thing, which is we need to probably just bring down the brightness. So with that layer still selected, we're just going to go to Image, Adjustments, and Brightness Contrast, and just start bringing down the brightness. So that way the outside kind of blends in. It'll be okay if we don't match it 100%, because probably that logo may actually stick in a little bit more or stick out. So that's actually looking pretty good. So we're going to hit OK. And now we have the Lego Man logo inside his little peg. Now, the next thing that we want to do is modify this sticker right here. So remember how I was talking about we do not use color and we're not actually texturing color or anything that we kind of see with our eyes and can read. We're texturing the fact that this sticker is sticking slightly off of his chest. So we need to get rid of all this color and actually just make this almost like a white outline. So to do that, real easily, we can just, with this selected, go to Image, Adjustments, Desaturate. And this will make it black and white. Now, you're probably asking where I got the sticker. Again, I just went to Google Images and typed in sticker PNG, and it pulled a whole bunch of these up, and I just kind of picked one that I like. So from here, now that I desaturated it, I'm going to go right here to Adjustments and go to Exposure. And I'm just going to crank the exposure all the way up to white, or all the way up, which forces this to be completely white. We lose all the detail in there, and we only get the outline, which is awesome. Now that we did that, we are good. So what I'm going to do is, again, Control A to select everything, or Command A. Control C to copy, or Command C on Mac. And then Control V or Command V it into here, which will allow me to paste it. So Command V. And then again, Control T as in Tim, or Command T to be able to free transform. And then we're just going to scale this down, and we're just going to put that on his chest. All right. All right. So we got the Lego logo, and then we got our sticker. All right. Now, again, this is pure white, so we need to bring it down to something a little bit more reasonable. So we can either do brightness and contrast, or I like to use exposure because that gets it there faster. And we're just going to bring down the exposure until it's just slightly above the surface. All right. Now, one thing that you can do if you want to, maybe the kid put the sticker on wrong or something like that, we can actually add like little ruffles to here, so sticker ruffles. But this is something a little bit extra and just give you an idea of what you can accomplish, but not ruggles. And what we want to do is bring up my brush and go back to more of a round brush, and we're going to bring down the hardness, which means it has more of a fall off. And we're going to go to our foreground color and sample this color, because the idea is that a ruffle is really just going to slightly stick off. So we're going to do like 63, something a little bit more subtle, and we're just going to put some ruffle lines in here. So just, and again, we need to turn on our different brush strokes. So And then we can also blur it. So if we go right here, that little like drop allows us to kind of blur this out. That way it kind of eases it in to the surface a little bit more. And we'll just kind of drag over that right there. So that will kind of blend it in and make it look like there's like little ruffles sticking off. But the fact is, that should be sufficient enough to show that one, you understand what grayscale is doing to our bump map, and two, it shows that you the different ways that we usually paint inside of Photoshop. Now, again, this is a very bare bones, stripped down version of like, hey, how to do stuff in Photoshop, but this is good enough to get most beginners up and running. Now, like I said at the beginning, you do not have to follow this to a T as long as you show that you understand like what a grayscale does to a bump map, and that you show different ways of how to paint by hand, how to use a filter, and then how to modify a photo, and you're keeping somewhat realistically with your Lego man. Have fun, experiment, see what happens. Really, if you have any questions, definitely reach out to me, reach out to your section instructor, and get feedback. But for the most part, that is it for painting. Next is going to be, how do we save this out?